We are now being joined by Khaled Barrel, the former director at Israel's National Security Council from Tel Aviv. Thank you for being with us. Now, Hamas is set to release the third batch of hostages in exchange for the Palestinian prisoners. How do you see things panning out from here?
I wouldn't want to place any bets. We saw yesterday how difficult it is to carry out even the most carefully crafted deals when you're dealing with a terrorist organization. So we had a very difficult time yesterday, as you know, I'm sure, carrying out the very explicit second part of the deal. And earlier today, we got some declaration from the Red Cross saying that they expect to have more difficulties today. It's a bit surprising because the Red Cross is basically not really part of this deal. All they do is kind of taxi the people in an ambulance from one side to the other. We haven't heard those reports from Qatar, from Egypt, from the United States, or anybody else who's actually involved in the deal. So we're very much hoping that it will carry out smoothly today, unlike yesterday.
Right, now you have mentioned there has already been this delay in the second round of hostage releases. You've mentioned that you are concerned there may be further issues. Could you shed some more light on this? What else could you expect here?
Well, it's really unknown because it's really quite unclear what yesterday made the Hamas declare last minute. First, they made a declaration during the agreed upon timeframe that the hostages were being transferred to the Red Cross. And then minutes later, they said that they're pulling back for the time being because they have issues with something about the humanitarian supplies and then something about the lists, none of which anybody involved in the deal really understood because the trucks had arrived earlier than the deadline. It's possible that Hamas is simply having terrible communication problems and is in such disarray that they just weren't able to corroborate the information they needed. It's also possible, and we on the Israeli side always suspect that they're trying to just buy time and maybe let another day go by with a ceasefire, but without providing their side of the deal, because that's been known to happen. So hopefully today all that will have been resolved. Israel has supplied the humanitarian aid well in advance to prevent any possible excuse on that level. And we're just going to have to see. The bottom line is yesterday, they had until midnight to deliver the hostages to the Israeli side. And it was minutes before midnight that they actually passed through the Rafah crossing and into Israeli hands. Hopefully today it will go more smoothly. We also have some good news today that we can expect an extra hostage that was arranged via some deal with Russia. I don't really have more detail about that, so there could be one more hostage going free because of some conversations between Hamas and Russia. But again, we really have to wait and see. We never know until they're truly here that they will arrive.
Yes, and when you have the 4 days as a time limit, every minute is precious. We have had some news that there could be an extension to that ceasefire that is set to end tomorrow. What details do you have on that?
Well, we don't have the full details. I think the suggestion we're hearing about, and again, this is not corroborated, and we don't know if Hamas stands behind this, but I think this is what Qatar is floating, possibly Egypt, that there would be an extra 2 days of ceasefire, and there would be 2 more, or around 20 or maybe 30 more hostages that could be released in that time frame, according to the key set in this first deal. So if this deal actually carries out properly today and tomorrow, we could see an extra 2 days of this happening. About a longer term thing, I don't think that's in really happening at the moment. I'd like to note that there is a possibility for these extra days to carry out, because we've seen yesterday very constructive involvement from the Egyptian side, and I understand they're involved in making this further step. So there is some hope that that will occur.
Right, and Helen, finally, how do you analyze Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Hamas's reaction to the release of the hostages so far?
Haven't really seen much reaction from Hamas. All we really got is the footage that we saw from the crossing, which was very disturbing because they're manhandling the hostages and trying to construct some show where they're saying welcome as if they've been thanked, and they're instructing the hostages to wave and smile, all sorts of things that are known to happen. On the Israeli side, there is really tremendous joy with every child and every person that comes back. We're all anxiously awaiting the return of all of our hostages. It's a very, very big moment for the Israeli public and for the Israeli government, whether through statements or not, because the deal had required from Israel quite a sacrifice in stopping tremendous military, very costly. So obviously, Israel has very, very strong interests in these deals going through. But of course, there's also a lot of sadness because we've seen 2 kids come back yesterday whose father is still captive, whose mother was killed on October 7th, and they don't even know it. And we've seen families where a grandmother came back with her grandson and her daughter on one hand, but lost her son on October 7th, found out while she was captive. And again, we saw 3 kids with their mother, young kids, the youngest is 3, come home, which made everybody so very happy, but then their father is left behind. These are really just heartrending situations. And so we are trying to provide everything we can for the hostages to have a safe and comfortable, as much as possible, landing here. We carry each and every one of them in our hearts. And we look with great hope to get all of them back and reunite all the families. One of the big issues we had yesterday, which caused such commotion, is that Hamas had agreed not to divide families and ended up dividing them. So a 13-year-old girl came back, her mother was kept behind. So we have a lot still to look forward to.
Absolutely, and hoping for all the best in the safe return of all of those hostages. Thank you very much for being with us on this broadcast.
Thank you.
WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.